This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martin, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with.
This is episode 414, Ed Balls. Of GamesAtWork.biz. This is Michael Martin, one of your three co-hosts, and you'll get to hear from both of those here in a moment. We're excited to bring you your weekly dose of technology, metaverse, games, AI, and all kinds of other fun subjects that we've seen and heard throughout the week. Our links, your links, every links that we can possibly get to in the next half hour. Michael, let me kick over to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Michael. Glad to be here and happy to get this show going quickly. Andy, how about you?
Yes, I'm also excited to be here. And pretty much what Michael Martin said. We've got a show listing that has metaverse games and some AI stuff, because everything has to have some AI stuff somewhere along the line.
Exactly. That's just the what we do this at this point in the year and at this point in history, I suppose. Everything is AI one way or another. But let's start with another big hype cycle thing. This one is NFTs in Minecraft. We're starting with a fun article here about how to spend your time in Minecraft with fun and profit playing something called Critterz. And I have to admit, I haven't played Critterz. I actually did not know much about this play to earn game before this article.
Well, so clickbait, right? Because it's not Minecraft. It's a fork of Minecraft, so it's a modification of the Minecraft engine. It's not completely developed from scratch, but it adds NFTs, because why not? Because it's a play to earn version of Minecraft. So
And it's brilliant. You pay them, and then you pay them some more, and then you might make $50 a day. So the earn is, if you run the platform, they're earning.
Yeah, it's not too subtle in terms of how they've implemented it. You know, it's either you buy or rent a character, and then up beyond that, they've got plots of land, which are also NFTs. So, it was just slimy all the way around. Yeah. I didn't love it. I mean, I was unsurprised in the sense that these things keep getting mashed together, but it's not something that appeals to me as something to work on or play. You know, I'd much rather play something that doesn't have NFTs involved. May or may not be metaverse connected.
Would you perhaps rather spend your time at a rave instead of in a Minecraft environment?
I mean, sure, why not?
Why not?
I've done that. Well, not a rave, but I've certainly been to music concerts in Second Life in the past and really enjoyed them and got to know the artists and bought their real MP3 files because I enjoyed their music and I could then play them wherever I wanted.
Absolutely. So our next article, just moving into that for a moment, is the Engage musical environment for Fatboy Slim, and there's this is a TechCrunch article talking about the experience of this game, and this music experience. We've had a few of these on here recently, and Fatboy Slim is a DJ who has an environment, and he takes you on a ride through the metaverse of, I'm hoping through some of his choosing, and through his musical stylings as well. The way that this was described felt a little bit like, oh gosh, what was the most recent one we did? It was a couple 2-3 episodes ago, where going through the metaverse environment with the hundreds or thousands of people and moving around from one place to another was a little disconcerting. This was a similar thing. It moved you through various environments from a physical, virtual sort of environment with the music.
I think that that one was very specific, as I remember it from a few weeks ago, where they were trying to get lots of, massively multiplayer online, many objects and people involved in the space. This one, quite liked the storyline here in terms of how this came about, and the fact that Fatboy Slim, or Norman Cook, the musician, sort of said, look, I don't want this to be hung up on reality. The whole point of a metaverse is that things can happen there that can't happen in real life. So let's do something fantastical. But it wasn't just and I'm going to throw this over to a marketing agency and they're going to build this for me. He was very involved and really engaged, ironically, given that the company that helped him do it was called Engage in the whole exercise. So, yeah.
So staying still with this theme about engaging ways of dealing with the metaverse, we have an article in from The Verge. We had a couple of those in this week, up from the way Meta, the company Meta, has improved their avatars. It does make the claim too that you still won't see the legs of these avatars in Horizon Worlds, which is kind of funny.
And in fact, you won't see these in VR either, because all these improvements are outside of Horizon Worlds. They're in profile pictures and stickers and other things.
Badges and.
Now, I think my view is that Microsoft pioneered sort of more diverse and inclusive avatars with Xbox Live a number of years ago, and it did a really nice job there. This feels more like Meta trying to catch up to where Microsoft is, but not then using the actual assets in anything other than a sort of a badging environment. So disappointing, but apparently legs are coming. We were told that before, so we'll find out.
So is the fact that we've had more and more less exciting / disappointing announcements about metaverse technology over the last few months a good sign that either the hype is dying and the whole thing will die off, or the hype is dying and now we'll get into the real meat of doing the things that are necessary for a metaverse to be a real thing?
I think it's a third option, which you didn't mention, which is the hype is dying because the hype has switched to AI and therefore and LLMs. Therefore, all of these companies, having slashed their workforces, are now doing what they can on the LLM side of things rather than on the metaverse side of things. Now, that could lead to what you just alluded to, which is actually where they're still engaged in metaverse activities. They may be doing things more concrete and at a useful level than doing something flashy. But I have a very cynical view of this current climate. And unfortunately, I think that it's a sign of change priorities rather than anything else.
The trough of disillusionment.
I don't know whether it's the trough of investor disillusionment. I don't know whether it's the trough of technology disillusionment.
Well, I know you guys are going to get. Well, I won't say I know. I hope you guys get really annoyed with me in about a month and a half.
Well, why do we need to wait that long?
Because hopefully by then I'll have an Apple headset, and then I'll be all hyped about AR and VR and talking metaverse again, and then maybe we'll see. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, you can be our special correspondent in Apple Land, Apple Meta Land,
Appleania,
Apple XR, whatever.
Apple Arcadia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, could be all kinds of stuff like that. I saw something, it may have been even this morning, about how Mark Zuckerberg, on your point, Andy, that things have pivoted to AI pretty hard, that Meta has, through Mark's comments, said that, yes, we've been doing metaverse all along with AI, and that was all together, the appropriate thing. So
Michael, you can be our spokesperson on other things as well, because we gather that you've actually tried out this game that we spoke about briefly before, but humanity, right? And with this kind of bridges off from the multi, the massively multiplayer. Actually, not massively multiplayer in this case.
Just massively
how many people we can put in a space. So there's an article we saw on Polygon this week that talks about the early release of humanity before it is widely available.
We talked briefly about this on the show. I want to say like a couple of months ago, and they had a week-long open beta on Steam. What I found really interesting is in this article, they actually talk about the history of the game itself. You know, it was 5 years that they worked on it. It was kind of a hobby project in a way, a technology demo, and the game itself, when I played the beta, there were 2 phases to the beta. The first one was just, I want to say it was like 10 levels, and it was unbelievably relaxing and kind of zen-like, because you just had this army of people, and you had a little dog, and the dog would tell the people which way to go. You know, go forward, jump on this, fly over that.
It looks a lot like Lemmings. No?
It's exactly like Lemmings, except you have one lemming who controls them all, and it's this dog.
Right.
And you do things like put down a jumper, right? And then any of the little humans that hit that would jump up and arch over something. You have all kinds of different little things like that. And then there's these giant golden people that you unlock and try to get them through the maze of each level. And so there were 10 levels of that in the first half of the beta. The second half was testing out the build your own level environment. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And so that's one of the exciting things that they show in the upcoming release is, you know, thousands or hundreds and or thousands of custom built levels that people have built themselves. I did not get into the levels where you have the humans shoot each other.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because it's a nice bridge. I'm still interested in trying Humanity, but it's a nice bridge to our next news item, actually, which you both picked up on this week about the Red Cross doing something to
wants to avoid having war crimes being committed inside of game environments.
They want to put the rules of modern warfare into war games that you play on PCs, where if you go outside of those boundaries of rules, then you're a war criminal.
Right.
And I actually thought, you know, the article that we found earlier this week from Timothy Geigner actually hit it for me, and that is, I play games to escape, to do something that's not real world. Just like the discussion that we had at the beginning with Fatboy Slim, right?
Right.
You go to the metaverse to do things that are not real, to extend the boundaries, do things outside of your comfort zone, do things that are fantastical or alter ego or whatever, right? Catharsis. And the whole point here is, do you really want to have, quote, war games that make you a war criminal if you play the game outside of rules?
Well, it depends on who is calling those things out, I think, in at least in my mind, right? There are some games that if you play them in a pacifist mode, that unlocks certain characteristics and things that you otherwise wouldn't get. And the Humanity game, to me, I don't know that I would feel it as relaxing as you described it, Michael, because the purpose there is you want to get the masses of humanity across whatever challenging, dangerous situation with losing as few people.
It doesn't matter how many you lose,
right?
Doesn't matter. There's an infinite number of people. It's time.
You know, I get the feeling that maybe they don't get it in terms of gaming, but I don't necessarily. The more I think about this article and what the goals are or seem to be here, it seems to be more making it a point rather than, you know, telling everybody this is the only way you should play games, and using the medium of some Twitch influencers and having them play some games by the rules of real warfare or engagement or behavior to drive home the point that bad things happen in real life rather than none of us should have fun. So, yes, I agree that we've gone around the whole psychology of playing games people who play games lead to doing bad things in real life kind of argument that we've heard many times in the past. But I'm not so sure that that's how we should necessarily interpret this. I also think that realistically, some of the rules that they incorporate it down to 4 rules, right? And one of them is use medkits on everyone, which technically can't be done technically through the rules of the game can't be done in many games because they don't let you go and give your medkit to someone else. You collect medkits to use on your own first-person character. So I just found it less controversial, I think, than maybe both of you did.
I didn't see it as controversial so much, Andy. My thought here was very much along the lines that you were introducing. Like, if you think about all of the issues that have been involved around Grand Theft Auto and other games, where those game environments are very open, you can do things to environments and non-player characters and a whole range of stuff that are not necessarily part of getting the storyline straight or through. To me, this is one of the ways that folks who don't understand games and understand the notion that this is a fantastical world, it's an escape from reality, Michael, as you said, it's easy for folks to point to it and say, see, look, this is the bad things that happen when people play these games, and therefore jump to the next conclusion.
Okay.
So that's where it made me think about it. I can't imagine that there's going to be like an IRC, International Red Cross approvals, element on games, or a set of code that says if you execute this game and follow these rules, you now win, and maybe you get some IRC badged, collateral for your avatar in meta. Maybe, I don't know, right? I don't think it's going to go there.
Yeah, I think if you're playing a first-person shooter, right? And I don't like first-person shooters. I don't play them. Then the whole thing of, don't shoot down players or unresponsive enemies. That's what people do, right? You camp on a body and you wait for them to res and you kill them again because you're going to level up.
You're a horrible, horrible human.
Exactly.
Let me just say that.
Which is why I don't play those games, because that's what usually happens to me. I suck at them, I walk out, I get killed, and I'm landed right where somebody can just camp.
I mean that's not great. That's bad for you. The bad experience for you. That doesn't draw you in. On the flip side, I have similar problems too. So I've talked to you guys about my Lego Star Wars game on the Switch, and I enjoy playing that a lot. One of the things that you do in that game is any item that is made out of Lego bricks, you can bust it, and you can get points for doing so. Mm-hmm. And there are times when I'm like, I don't want to do that. Those creations are really cool. But in order to advance the story, I've got to destroy Lego creations, which is weird. Yep. All right. Anyway, let's move along. Well, we have a quick toucher here on Snapchat, which is not quite a game, but there are ways of playing with Snapchat, and we've talked very, very briefly a couple of weeks ago about how Snapchat has introduced an AI interface that you can incorporate into your chats with your friends and others. It used to be part of a paid subscription. The interesting thing about this article is if you don't want that AI pinned to the top of your friends, you need to be on a paid subscription in order to remove it.
Yeah,
which is kind of an interesting thing. We've seen that with ads, right? Pay to remove ads. Are we going to see pay to remove AI?
It's the shitification of the platform. It's the same. Well, it's not the same, but Twitter this week, I think, stopped you from searching unless you're at least signed in. And I wouldn't doubt that they then introduce it that you can only do that if you're a paying subscriber. We'll see. But yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of it the exact same way of, and we talked about this years ago, how the safe driver insurance, right? Put this adapter in your car and your rates will go down so that they could eventually get to the point where they flip it. So if you don't have it, your rates will go up. It's the same thing with this. Here's a feature that you get if you pay for it. Now, people don't really like it. You got to pay to get rid of it.
Well, our next story is in the AI area and is a longer conversation. And actually was recommended to me by one of our listeners, who happens to be also my wife. And it's written by a friend of both of ours that we both met and got to know independently. We're both great friends with him, Paul Squires, who is in the UK. And he's written a really good piece on his Medium blog about how the humanities subjects, so social sciences, really have the opportunity to shine and shape the way that AI is useful and is used. What did you both think about this one?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yep. I enjoyed it, and I was just reading through the history of his journey in tech.
Yeah.
And
same.
In many ways, it parallels some of mine, so I thought it was kind of cool.
One of the things that Paul mentions at the beginning is that his introduction to computing was the ZX81 Sinclair, and that reminded me that I gave a talk at one of his events probably 10 years ago or something like that. I think it was the 20th or 30th anniversary of one of those 8-bit platforms. I think it was the Spectrum that I gave a talk at. So yeah, it was super fun to read and look at how people with non-traditional tech backgrounds, myself included, which is obviously nice, a nice reinforcement for myself as a historian to think about how different ways of thinking, different backgrounds, different ways of analyzing information, judging whether something might be accurate, the sort kind of sources that information has come from, is suddenly really useful in the world where we are using these digital means to merge different sources and come up with new ideas or not, or come up with accurate or inaccurate ideas. So it's a 3 or 4 minute read on Medium. Thoroughly recommend it. It also reminded me of something else that came across my radar this week, which is that Kent Beck, who's pretty famous in the software space as the father of extreme programming, finally tried ChatGPT, having avoided doing so for a while, and tweeted and then wrote a post that 90% of his skills are now worth 0, and he was really worried. And the interesting part about it is, I think my friend James Governor commented on this as well, that Kent doesn't go on to say which are the 10% that retain their value, because those are things that you have to sort of organically then figure out.
You have to Google those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then those will surface. Both of these articles revolve around the same subject, and what I think is really, really important these days is that we've had such the focus on IT skills and the importance of technical skills being crucial to the development and the economic prosperity of individuals for quite a while. And the point and the fact of the matter here is, in a matter of literally just a few weeks and months, we've been able to see that the ability to properly articulate a prompt, which is different than the way to properly format code, has developed into something that is of enormous value, and that is not necessarily something that is in the wheelhouse of someone who is an experienced full stack code developer as what they do. Absolutely, and there's been some really good stories, posts recently about both prompt and, in fact, I think it was the guy that created one of the virtualization technologies posted about prompt engineering and how it's not just about writing, changing the question every time you ask a question. It's was it Matt Mitchell, the guy that did that? Anyway, I digress. I was going to, though, however, jump forward in the interest of time, because I think it connects to this, that there's been this story this week from The Verge where people are identifying AI-generated spam in user reviews on different platforms, such as Amazon. So I woke up, I think, Wednesday morning, and read somebody saying that his new game was searching on Google as an AI language model, in quotation marks, followed by site:/Amazon.com, to find all of the reviews that were written by AI. And I was talking to my wife about this and finding some on Amazon.co.uk, and she said, "Well, so are people not checking?" And I said, "Well, no. I can see the logic of the code. It's find random product that we want to juice on Amazon, ask ChatGPT to write a review, and then immediately post that content, regardless of having checked it." So a lot of these things literally say that in the middle of the review, which is disappointing. They also, I will note, come from apparently verified
purchases, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, that part is problematic on every front.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can say that there's a watermark, then the watermark is the phrase as an AI language model, but it's also just as easy to write a prompt that says, do not include that watermark.
Not necessarily.
It just shows, it shows the importance, I think, and I was hoping we'd get to this earlier, the importance of a humanities education, right? The ability to think and talk in complete sentences and to describe things as requirements, all these together, and then to understand the output of your work in such a way that you can describe it to somebody else in a meaningful and consumable way. And so, getting rid of the watermark just says you understand your requirement well enough to define it in such a way that it doesn't show the watermark, right? And it's gotten to Andy, you used the term earlier from the one book, the enshittification of it's just people being lazy.
Right.
It would take 30 seconds more to write your prompt to not make it sound like it's a prompt, right?
Well, fraudsters are going to get better at being fraudsters, right? And trying to create a fraudulent review written by AI that's being presumed to be a user, a real person, is a problem on every level. I would say on the education front, Michael, one of the things that I've been able to learn here recently, and this comes from a visit to Harvey Mudd out in Claremont, California. Harvey Mudd is one of the universities or colleges there. Their program around engineering is very much around a humanities-based technical education. So they're creating engineers with that benefit. I see that as being an important way of the future, and I was really intrigued by their philosophy. I know we're close on time. Any final comments, team, before we wrap up for the week here?
Well, super sad that we didn't get through everything that we had on our slate. One fun thing that we saw on Slash Film this week, without going into lots of detail and discussion, is the new Lego Indiana Jones sets that have been released, and they go back to the original series of Indiana Jones movies. So, but they've got some really fun interactive elements in there, which are fun to look at. So do take a look at that. Link and story on our blog.
Yeah, and the other one, I'm just a shout out to the Japanese team that tried to land on the moon this week. Found an article about their unsuccessful moon landing. Best they can tell from before it ended was probably out of fuel within feet of landing on the moon.
Sucks.
Which is a shame, but really exciting to see those landings attempted.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we've run out of time, folks. So we look forward to hearing what you think of our show. Do contact us via comments on the website, or post on Mastodon, or just send us a pigeon or something. We always enjoy those. They're very tasty.
If when cooked properly.
Yes. Have a good one,
everybody. Time, everybody.
See ya.
Cheers. You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming, technology, and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us on Twitter at GamesAtWork_biz, or at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.